We're going to wait for a few more minutes. It's 42, so maybe 3 more minutes. Get ready. You have the Wi-Fi codes on the walls, so you can start to tweet using the hashtag here, SMW Safmarine. Feel free to also mention the Safmarine account or my account if you'd like that. We will have 10 minutes at the end of the session for questions, and also be able to log in on Twitter to answer those questions. So, yeah. And we can start in 2 to 3 minutes. So get comfortable. So now I'm excited. I'm a bit nervous as well. So welcome everyone for today's conference about social media and culture. I'm very happy to be with you. It's very impressive for me, but also super exciting. As I said, you have the Wi-Fi codes here if you want to tweet, if you want to send questions along this presentation. And before we jump in, I would like to tell you a little story about myself. My name is Erika. I come from France. And 7 years ago, I was sitting at the sunny terrace in Aix-en-Provence. Maybe some of you know, it's at the south of France. And a friend of mine was asking me, what do you want to do in the future? I was studying political sciences and communication at that time. And I said, I don't know exactly. What I want is talking about politics, economics, culture, different languages, and communication. And then I moved to positions in a bank in different communication positions, then a social media agency in Paris, and I worked for local brands and global brands. And a year ago, I joined Safmarine here in Copenhagen. It's been a year now. And today this is exactly what I'm doing. So that's why I'm thrilled today to talk about this, because it's about interacting in the global world, but also taking into account culture, with a big C, but the cultures and the various cultures across the globe. So here we are today to talk about social media and culture, and to look at it also with the angle of Safmarine. Let me start by showing you a quote about culture. You will find hundreds of quotes about culture. This one, I find it quite easy. Culture has been defined in a number of ways, but most simply as the learned and shared behavior of a community of interacting human beings. It says it all, right? Yes, global brands have to understand their local audiences to meet them. This is a no-brainer. But on social media, it's even more important because we work at a level of a community. So how social media can help global brands understanding and then meeting with their local audiences. We've asked ourselves the question for Safmarine. But before going forward, let me introduce you to Safmarine, because maybe most of you do not know Safmarine, and also to understand why we are here in this auditorium. Safmarine provides containerized shipping services. We ship boxes, containers from A to V for our customers. We belong to AP Møller Mærsk Group, that's why we are in this auditorium, and we ship it across the globe. But we are specialized in key regions. You will see all our trade lanes here. We are specialized in emerging markets, 4 of them: Africa, Middle East, the Indian subcontinent, and South America. We're also very active in Europe and North America. But today, in regards of emerging countries, these are the 4 core regions that I mentioned that are taking our interest today. So this is the what we do. But at Safmarine, and I hope you'll be able to feel that, we are very much interested in the how. And the how is through our people, our 1,500 Safmariners that are passionate, caring, and trying to understand our customer needs. We used to say that we have a passion and purpose that is people making the difference and providing the highest level of customer care. This is still very relevant, and this is what keeps us alive every morning. We are different. And this difference is based on 3 things. Our history. We were a local player, and if you look at the name Safmarine, it's based in South Africa. It was created in 1946, and it evolved. We are now a key global player, and we have headquarters here in Copenhagen. Our brand identity. At Safmarine, we say that our brand is our behavior, and our behavior is our brand. This is key for us, because this is how we deliver the value to our customers. And to do so, we have to base our brand identity on a culture. This is our culture. And we have guiding principles. We have 5 of them that are the foundation of our culture. I brought some of them in my bag, so by the way, if you're interested in reading them, I'll be more than happy to share it with you. Those principles are setting the ground for the Safmarine culture. 1 culture. Yes, that's true, 1 culture. But I mean, let's be honest. We have people across the globe. We have people in Mumbai, we have people in Kinshasa, in Nairobi, in Sao Paulo. 1 culture and a lot of varieties, a lot of variations across the globe. Triangles, circles, you can see whatever you want. But this is still the orange culture, the Safmarine culture. So we really thought of how can we create bonds among those different local points, local entities. And social media came quite naturally in thinking that. It allows to tie networks across our local points. It's still very relevant, it's still very consistent, but we leverage on those differences, on those different cultures. And let me tell you a story on that. Last year, when I was starting to build a network of brand ambassadors, Safmariners across the globe to help me on Facebook, I reached out to Egypt, because Egypt was the #1 community already present on our Facebook page. So I talked with Rania, she's one of a Safmariner in Egypt. We had a video training, we had everything ready to start on Facebook. And then, political events. It became quite tedious and difficult, and Rania told me, you know what? It's not the right time to start doing something on Facebook on behalf of a brand showing fun and passion. So we talked together, and we literally realized that it was not the time to do it. So we put this on standby. And we talked together, and she brought her local vision in making sure that we were aligned in not doing what was not supposed to happen in Egypt, at least at that time. So 1 brand, 1 strong culture a lot of variation, especially among the emerging countries, and social media to tie them together. I'd like to talk about emerging countries in particular, because this is one of the topics that really interests me for our strategy. When we talk about emerging countries, I'm sure that you know the BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, and China. And you might not know the new BRICS. It's the MINTs, Mexico, Indonesia, Nigeria, and Turkey. So these are key economies that are now thriving. In 40 years from now, it's said that the BRICS economy will be larger than the G6. So it gives you a sense of scale. And this impressive growth is also happening on the web, online. So if we look at the adoption of web, you have Asia Pacific now that accounts for 40% of internet users. Before that, it was just Northern America having almost 3/4 of this pie. So it has shifted from emerging countries. If we look at the BRICS, they account for they are in the top 10 of the internet users. And if we look at social media in particular, it's even more impressive. In 2017, it is said that all users in emerging markets will account for 1.9 billion social media users, and that's 3 out of 4 users. A report was held last year among different social media users in emerging markets and North America and Europe. What was striking is when you were asking people, how often would you like to share things online? It's the people in emerging markets that would almost say, I share everything already, or almost everything. So it's a key trend now that people in emerging markets are willing to use social media and share content at a scale that has nothing to do with North America and Europe. Yes, they are different. I mean, if we take just the 4 BRICS, it's different culture, different language, and different level of maturity. Let's talk about Brazil. Let's talk about Brazil. And before this, I'm going to share with you what happened to me this morning. I arrived here, I wanted to take my badge, and one of the ladies from your team, the Social Media Week team, she arrived. Yeah, she's here. She's Brazilian, by the way. You know what she did to me this morning? She hugged me. We've never met, right? We've never met before, but it happened. And this is exactly what's said here, openness, socializing. Brazil has been called by the Wall Street Journal the social media capital of the universe. They are so much into socializing anyway that they're using social media at a crazy pace. 70% of Brazilians do agree to share their personal data to receive targeted advertisement. Russia, on the other hand, it's more of a slow pace. It's a digital awakening. They're using very much the local social media. Facebook is not the top one, but it's getting more and more. And they're very much using the social media that are using their own language. China. Yep, this is the heavyweight. 300 million users, with a lot of different local players because the landscape is quite fragmented. But it's definitely a country that you have to play with when you enter the social media arena. India. India, on the other hand, has a high desire to join the global community. So they're kind of leaving Orkut back, and they're all joining Facebook. And I don't know if you manage some global pages, but I can tell you that Indian fans are coming more and more important in our page at Safmarine. And it's also very interesting if we take the culture, because India, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm looking at Pooja now, have maybe more than 23 local languages. How do you cater for all those different languages and this desperate need of content that is targeted to you? So yes, there are differences, but they are very much the same. When we look at how people are engaging across all those different locations, we have key things that are the same. They value the advice of the opinion leaders, friends, and family. If we take China, for instance, they're very skeptical about messages from the authority. So they disproportionately value advice of their family and their friends. Brazilian as well. 9 out of 10 Brazilians do take the advice of their family and friends before doing a complex purchasing choice online. They're also in growth population. They're super excited. They're just willing to share everything online. Chinese, once they're online, spend 40% of their time doing social networking. So it gives you the sense. They're crazy about social media. We really have to take this into account. And also the last point is the concentration of the global platforms. Yes, there are some local platforms, but we've all seen Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, LinkedIn at a certain extent to be the social platforms that were attracting more and more people from emerging markets. We've seen quite a little bit kind of a decrease in the US, for instance, but if you look at all emerging markets, it's peaking up. So BRICS are the key player online on social media. And any global brand has to acknowledge this to then start to engage with them. What did we do at Safmarine? At Safmarine, we have this image that we really like to use, is drawing a framework, and a frame literally, and allowing them locally, everywhere, to paint their picture and to add their local flavor. When I arrived at Safmarine, just the first week, I had already received 2 emails from people I'd never seen everywhere in the world, welcoming me in the Safmarine family. This is so strong at Safmarine, the sense of family, the social potential. So we really realized that we wanted to leverage on this social potential. And as I previously told you, we really pay attention in delivering emotionally the brand. So what we did is we thought that social media was the way to do it, because it allows communication between communities. It's not a one-to-one communication anymore, it's a many-to-many. It allows word of mouth also. And it's very much about storytelling. You know that. Photos, videos. You have a lot of ways now using social media to deliver your story. And relationship building. We want to tie relationships. You remember the triangle and the circles among our people across the globe. And if we can have customers part of those relationships, this is what we want. This is what we try to achieve. So to do so, we put a strategy in place about pride, passion, and people, with 3 key objectives: brand awareness, enhancing the pride and the engagement among the employees, and also having our customers on board, building what we call a fan base. We used to call a fan base before Facebook. It's not the fan base kind of Facebook style. It's very much people that are willing to recommend Safmarine among their peers. And to do that, we just want to highlight the passion and pride people that bring the brand alive. So playing on this orange heart that you see here, and you will see some of the examples coming. This is very important for us. And to do so, well, we had to go one step after the other. That's actually 3 steps. So last year, we spent some time to build the foundations, to select the right social media: Facebook, Sina Weibo for China, LinkedIn, and at a certain extent YouTube. But it's slow pace for us, so it's more of a depository than a social media itself. It was about setting the tone of voice, identifying the great stories, and then starting to engage. Once we had this, we empowered the local ambassadors, as I call them, our local Facebook ambassadors. So people in different locations, South Africa, Brazil, the US, Turkey, China, Netherlands, UAE, to speak, to learn what it is to talk on social media on behalf of a brand, and then to speak on behalf of Safmarine and bring those local stories, those local gems. And now the next step, and that's also why I'm in front of you, and I'll be more than happy to discuss it with you in the last 10 minutes for the Q&A session. What do we do going forward? Please bring on your ideas. We have ideas of using other channels, of integrating much more our customers, of hearing what they have to say. So this is the step going forward. But one of the key things, when you want to know what's happening locally and when you want to leverage on that, is to find the great stories. It's to find those stories to tell. And that took us quite a long time last year to put this in place. one content pipeline. It's just literally us staying in Copenhagen. We don't know all the time, what is this very story happening in Mumbai? What is this story happening in Amsterdam? We don't know. So we have to rely and to empower our local ambassadors to see those stories and to bring them into play. To have one content pipeline made of a variety of stories that tell the Safmarine story. And once we have them, we can use them on our different channels. We can have a stronger impact. We can cover more geographies. This is an example. In Dubai, they held an orange potluck. We used it on Facebook. We used it on our internal platform and internal magazine. And this is very much what we're trying to do, tie communication efforts together. Social media is not a standalone. So this is what you have to remember. At least if you want to understand what we did at Safmarine, we have a global frame with a governance in place, and then we very much empower our local ambassadors and our local people to paint their own picture. So now I'd like to share with you some of the learnings and maybe show you some of the examples that we've been through this year. Some of the examples that you'll see helped us very much shaping this. It's an ongoing journey, and we have to learn from our experience. So one of the key things we realized is, and we knew we wanted to do, is to tie every social media effort with the overarching brand goals. People, pride, and passion. And you basically have here and here 2 examples of a new Wednesday feature that we have on Facebook. Every Wednesday, we show a new Safmariner in a different location with his or her specialities, this special thing. And it allows Safmariners across the globe to interact, to communicate, to know each other better, and also customers. We are now trying to see more and more customers coming here and directly interacting with the Safmariner we showcase. If you look at our cover picture on Facebook, here, all of these are Safmariners, real faces, real people. And they're very much feeling proud to be here. So we also try to nourish the pride. Then we also realized, and I think I would be glad to share it with you because it's the case for a lot of people. What you like is authentic content, right? Content that talks to you as a user. So always try to think user-oriented. These are pictures, real pictures, taken this one in Berlin 2 weeks ago at a big fair trade. So we had a lot of Safmariner present for this fair trade. But we had other Safmariners, those that didn't come, that commented, to send a best of luck to our guys. Here in Sudan, we're seeing people in Sudan having this event with their customers, and customers starting to engage also with our guys. What is important for us is measuring the qualitative metrics. And when we say this, it's very much about engagement. How many people are engaging with us? It's not about the number of fans. It's about the fans that matter. And then this is one of my favorite, getting inspired by what's happened locally. So here you have messages. The one on your left side is from Dubai. They celebrated success with a customer. And with one of our key traditions in Safmarine is cakes, big cakes. We like that. And on the other side is the US. Our team in Houston, they celebrated Halloween, and they posted. And we're gonna use it on the magazine staff. So these are the stories that we easily can reuse on other channels that are showing the pride that we want to develop across the people, that are still very relevant to the brand, but also very localized. It's about leveraging the storylines. When we have a good story, let's use it. And this one was taken in a bus, so it's a bit dark because it was in the dark Copenhagen at 5 o'clock, with cluster tops coming from all across the world. And we used it on Facebook, and we also used it on Sina Weibo. So Our Chinese ambassador, she published it on Sina Weibo, adding the Chinese flavor, the emoticons that they really like to use in China. It works well, and it has to be leveraged. And one last thing is very much testing. Learning, testing. Those ones were not very good. It was 2 to 3% of engagement rates, not super good. But that was a good learning for us, not to do it again and to find something else to say. I thought that they wanted to learn about what was happening in Africa economically. Maybe it was not the right way to do it, but we learn from our mistakes. So there we are. I really wanted to show you how we managed to keep this local flavor, difference of cultures, but still being very relevant to the brand culture. Together we go places is our new tagline. You've seen it at the bottom of this presentation. We've launched it externally last November, and it's very much about including our customers in our journey. What we said is we asked Safmariners across the globe to go for a little competition and to create videos and photos about their understanding of the tagline. And they could join with Maersk Line colleagues, with shared function colleagues. These are people that work both for Safmarine and Maersk Line, and also customers. So I'm going to show you some pictures of the entry of the competition. Your task is to guess where it comes from. Let's see if you can guess that. And at the end, I will show you how we managed to combine all of them and still being relevant to what the brand is. Okay? So let's try with that one. Would you be able to recognize where it was taken? And those that know, don't tell. This is at Istanbul, Turkey. Second one. Would someone know where it comes from? Yep, Nigeria. This one? This one is China, South China. It actually won the competition because of the energy and the passion reflected. This one, oh, this one, come on, you know. This is the Scandinavian cluster with Sweden and Norway. And Denmark had taken another picture, but they're working closely together. This one? Sorry? Exactly, Vietnam, absolutely. And last one? Not far away. Pakistan, exactly. So now let me show you the journey we created with all those inputs. And sound should work.
Accountable.
Support.
Human touch.
Partnership.
Commitment.
Yeah? Nice, huh? We had a lot of fun doing it, and a lot of excitement was felt through every places. I can share with you some of the quotes that we received afterwards. It's very much about pride, about passion, about being together, and about our customers. This is what we try to do. One brand, different location, a lot in emerging countries, and being able to leverage on those local cultures. I'd like to close this note with, I would say, an inspiring quote from Claude Lévi-Strauss. Maybe some of you know him. He's a French anthropologist. Culture uses and transforms life to realize a synthesis of a higher order. I think it's something that we try to aim at. And I would really like now to open the discussion with you, as I'm sure you're part of the global world, but you also have your local identity. So please feel free to ask any question, maybe to share your experience. You have microphones inside your chairs. You just have to press the button. And we have a bit more than 10 minutes to start the discussion. Who will be the first to dare? Yeah? I'm going to check on Twitter as well, actually, for the shy one. But I have to log in again. Yes?
Language and channels. How do you have channels per language? Do you share specific linguistic channels across multiple geographies? How do you handle that problem?
Yeah, very good question. At Safmarine, we use globally English as a shared language for everyone. So we took this journey to start using English when we talk globally. But the beauty, and I'm talking about Facebook right now in particular, is that you can then use target features to only and specifically target locations. So when we have our Brazilian counterpart posting on Facebook, she targets only Brazilians, and then she can speak in Portuguese. So when we have the ability to thinly target an audience, then we would use the local language. And obviously, there's no surprise in having the higher level of engagement rates, because when you talk in your own language, then obviously you're even more engaged. So when we have this possibility, we do use the local language, but on the other time, we would use English all the time. And that's also why we try to have an accessible language, an accessible English language that everyone can understand across the borders. And of course, with China, there's a little bit of a difference because Facebook has not, entered in China, or almost not. So we anyway had to find another one, and see now Weibo being one of the most used, then they use it in simplified Chinese. Yeah? Sorry, yeah?
Do you work with metrics for what you hope to achieve with this effort for cultural cohesion globally? Somehow, do you aim to link it to productivity or other metrics?
We try to link it to pride, passion. So we try to measure as much as we can the message that come across, the tone of the message, and then you go to the human analysis of that. It's not one figure. It's what is the tone of this message. So yes, we look at pride and passion among messages. We look at relationships that are being built, but it's very much qualitative metrics. And then we do look at, so that's qualitative metrics. And then we do look at quantitative one with engagement rate, numbers of fans in different locations, and the demographics in those locations in particular. But what's important is how much engaged. And when I say engaged, is also a comment is much more engaging than a like. So you can also go to the step of putting a proportion that is higher on a comment and on a share than on a like. So we're looking at all of that, absolutely. And trying to aim at least 10% of engagement rate. And when we have more, of course, this is what we're trying to aim. And locally too, I mean, sky is the limit. Sometimes we have 50% of engagement rate on a local post. And this is because we have qualified fans. Yeah? Any other question? Yeah? Yes.
I'm just a bit curious about who's the target group for your Facebook, because it seems a bit like it's most for internal use to get your culture out to all the employees around the world. But you also talked about some customers trying to interact with a lot of your posts, but is it the same groups you use for internal use and for customers, or different content, or is it just the same?
Good question, exactly. I think you've spotted well. We very much use Facebook first as a way to enhance our culture and therefore to target our staff, our employee at first. Then, because we are very consistent with how we're perceived internally and how we're perceived externally, we want to keep strengthening relationship with customers. So yes, they are here on Facebook, but we don't speak hardcore business. We do want to leverage the culture and the relationship. On LinkedIn, on the other hand, this is very much a professional network. So here we would only select the message that are more linked to what you would expect in a LinkedIn environment, so more professional content. But that's the whole balance. So the content pipeline, if you recall, is exactly made for that. Once we have a story, then we identify whether or not we could use it on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and tweak the angle, change the angle, so it matches the expectations on the different channels. So yes, customers are here being part of our family, and we really want them to be part of the family. If you recall the message that Dubai posted, they invited a big customer in their office, and they celebrated the success and the great partnership together. So we have both, but we do select wisely the content and the angle in regards to the channels, absolutely. And this is very much what we want to also strengthen this year. This is one of our key objective and priority for 2014, is to have our customers on board. And we have one specialist of our customers here. He might maybe share a view on that. Yes, we want to have them on board. We want to keep conversing even more thinly. And we will open a closed LinkedIn group for doing so. So yes, this is what we will try to achieve this year. Yes?
It seems like you have a really particular social media strategy compared to the other business units of Maersk Group. But do you look at Maersk Line, Svitz, or some of the other business units in terms of grabbing their content and sharing content and strategies?
In terms of content, no, because we want to show what the Safmarine brand is about. So I will not use Maersk Line content to be Safmarine content, but we can share each other content, and we already did. So when something great is happening, then of course we do share. We did the same thing with Maersk Group as well. I mean, I wanted very much to share the photos that Maersk Line published when the Red Bull jumper just jumped across the opera. But we opened the Safmarine Facebook page just 2 weeks after, so I kind of missed that. But yes, absolutely. if we can take the best of everyone's efforts, why not? Absolutely. But it still has to be consistent to what our brand is. So there goes the decision on is it following our overarching brand goals? And if so, yes, of course. Yep. Of course.
But it seems like Maersk Lines, they got extremely popular exposing hardware like ships, harbors, nature, all that fascinating stuff. But you prioritize humans and faces and culture.
Yes.
I mean, what are your stand? How do you, prioritize that?
The human in the faces? I would say that it's, if you have an editorial plan in front of you, then you know that you have X slots. So you know that you want to achieve 3 to 4 to 5 posts per week, more or less. And then you know what are the coming stories, right? And yes, hardware is tempting. Yes, hardware works. People like to see containers. People like to see vessels. So we do it sometimes. We've had great stories of, I can tell, at least 2 of them. One, it was in the middle of a natural reserve in the core of, where was it, Tanzania, that someone took a picture of a Safmarine container with a zebra in front of it. And this person is a customer of ours in Africa. He's also a very close friend to one of our Safmariner in Finland. And it's actually the Safmariner in Finland that said, hey, you know what? My friend took this picture and we used it. Great story. Absolutely beautiful, beautiful picture. Another one. In Belgium, they organized a shooting of a well-known TV series. I wouldn't be able to recall the name. And they used 3 containers on top of each other. And it was supposed to show that it was a closing gate at the middle of Brussels, I think. So our staff, Maersk Line staff and Safmarine staff, we were both involved in making it happen. So in literally bringing containers inside the city for this TV show. We took great pictures, we used them, Maersk Line used them. We had great, super engagement rate and everything. So we do it when it makes a lot of sense. And in the editorial plan, we try to balance it. But what makes sense for us, and this is what we try to do, is having our strategy in mind about people, pride, and passion. So it's about balancing, but of course, we also want to say it. Should I go on Twitter? Did you post any question? We have 5 minutes left. It's just that I have to relog. Someone has another question? You're being shy. So let me just check. Maybe someone has a last question. And by the way, if you're interested in seeing other videos that our staff made about the tagline, you're more than welcome to go on our YouTube account, where we, I'm making mistakes, where we uploaded other videos of countries. Yes?
There we go. I'm wondering about how often you interact with your local coworkers, so the people you have helping you out with the social media in the local areas. Do you meet face to face? Do you have Skype meetings? What do you do to keep them as engaged as you are?
Yeah, it's a very good point, because you're absolutely right. It's the connection that also makes it work. So we are trying to use as many tools as we have, because obviously we cannot travel across the globe all the time. And if I tell you, I told you the locations, then Brazil, the US, South Africa, Turkey, and then China, it's quite difficult. So we try to connect, I would say, at least once a week. But it's more on an ad hoc basis. Sometimes we need, sometimes we don't need. Emails, telephone sometimes, and I use a lot the instant messaging tool that we have. So if I see something, I just reach out to them and say, hey, what do you think of that? Then we can discuss the angle sometimes, because test and learn approach. To give you an example, 1 week ago, our lady in the Netherlands, she posted a photo of a newborn baby. And I don't speak Dutch, so I was, oh my goodness, what happened? And then I reached out to her, and we discussed it. And I said, okay, this is one of your staff members that has become a grandfather. He was so proud. He wanted to share it with everyone. But then I reached out to her and I said, oh, you know what? This could be challenged because how far do we go? So again, it's on one-to-one basis, and then we can discuss, are we aligned with our brand identity? Are we aligned with our goals? Are we sharing pride? Yes, we are. Aren't we going a bit too far? Maybe. So she changed the picture. So we evolve, we're making this evolved, and I think that contacts are key. So with people that are using it quite regularly, I have now a bit less contact because they've learned it, they're all good. I'm still checking all the time, and if something is happening, then I can reach out to them. But those that are a bit less active, it requires more of my energy to make it happen and to make them trust themselves and pick the right storylines. But I mean, finding the content is one of the most challenging things they have. I was sharing this with my counterpart in the US, so she's handling Facebook for the US, and she was like, it is difficult to find the stories. It is very difficult because she's doing this on top of many other things. We don't have Facebook people that are working 7 hours per day on Facebook. If they're doing 20 minutes on it per week, I'm happy. I'm happy, as long as it works well. So it's helping them in seeing those stories. Again, the content pipeline that we're using tries to also make it better for them. So it's easier. We just gave them few of the ideas, and if they pick, okay, this could be a good story, they bring it to us, and then we say, yes, go ahead, that's great. Would you share the content pipeline? Yeah, of course. Let me find it there. Yeah, there. We help them identify the story. Then they bring it to us, and we look at them. And we identify the channels, the angles, maybe what needs to be, dived in a little bit more. And once we have them, we develop the stories. And we have the help of 2 of our colleagues in Manila, which we're working closely with. So they're helping us in reaching out to all those people to get the stories together and having the great photos, because this sometimes is not easy. Now smartphones are helping quite a lot because more and more people have it and just take the picture, and it's quite usable on the web. Of course, if you want to go print, then it's another ballgame, right? And once we have them, then we can develop them across our channels with different angles if required. Yeah, 1 more minute. Yeah, closing question, and then Angela, yeah.
Just to follow up, so it sounds like both from the headquarters, you're sending out story ideas that then can be used in different countries, and then but they are also sending to you things that are happening locally that you, is that right?
Not necessarily story ideas, but key communication objectives or types of story that we're looking for. For instance, we're looking for celebrating success. And then they know that they have to look for something that is around success and how we celebrate it together and with our customers. And Dubai, as we saw, not here, but on the other one, has picked it up.
And so do you also have, as you're developing sort of, or planning out, do you have some themes that you develop that for a week or something you concentrate on a specific area?
At that point of time, we don't have, let's say, a monthly theme. I used to do it for other brands because I was the only one producing the content, which is fairly easy. You know that you have to stick to Africa, and you do Africa. We could do this. At the moment, and that was very much setting the foundation, we needed that many storylines that we would take those that make sense. But it could very much be a development of trying to bring themes in that. Where we do theme is our staff magazine, because we have a bit more time. It's every 3 months, so we have time to bring in a theme and then use it. But social media, and this is also why I like to work with an editorial plan, but not too tightly on social media. Because what you want the hot stuff. So as soon as it comes, you want to be able to share the story with everyone. So this instantaneity doesn't match well with planning and theming, so you have to balance. Yeah, and last question? You have to press the button.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you put a halt to your efforts in Egypt when she spoke to the local brand ambassador and she told you of political uprising or turmoil. But is there a standard plan to deal with sensitive issues like this in certain areas where, like, do you just put a halt to communication? Is there a way to kind of like maneuver?
There is a way to maneuver, and we have crisis comms that are working across channels. So this is something that then falls into crisis comms if it requires to. For this specific example in Egypt, we hadn't do anything. So why start if it's really not the time to do so? So yes, but it's also a matter of keeping up to the news and what's happening in the world. Because if you have something happening in Kenya or other places, you have to have this in mind because you know that it can come up on social media anyway. And I've had the discussion with Turkey. Turkey is also in political turmoil, was very much. And my Turkish local ambassador, he really was a little bit like the Egyptian one. He felt that it could be sensitive at a certain point. And then I said to him, okay, if you feel that, and then I trust you, because you're the local guy, you know what happens, then let's try to play it down a little bit, look at what's happening, and then sometimes we can post, test, and try. But being sure that it's the right moment is something that I really rely on the local people. Because I listen to the BBC, I read as much as I can, but I'm not at Cairo or I'm not in Istanbul. They would be the one to know. And to look also at what's happening on the social media. Yeah, I think it's time to close this, unless someone has a very, very last question, because we're already 4 minutes late. So thank you so much. I wanted to share with you the last slide. Thank you so much. And if you have 1 or 2 minutes, Social Media Week is aiming at scoring the speakers. So feel free to go on speakerscall.com and give your feedback. Thank you so much. I'm still here if you want to discuss, and on Twitter as well. Thanks.